Hello, I'm Megan, aka Just Run It, and this is Megan's Monday Musings. Another Monday in 2020 is upon us. I am back in the Arctic upper Midwest of the United States after a wonderful visit to Costa Rica for my birthday. Thank you to everyone for the birthday wishes. And we had a fabulous trip. We ziplined, we surfed, we stayed at an all-inclusive resort where we got to eat all kinds of fancy foods. And it has made re-entry hard, but I'm hoping that it has set a tone for 2020 of adventure and fun and finding joy. And I hope the same to you. So happy 2020, Happy New Year. I didn't get to say that last week. So this week, I'm going to talk about showing your stripes. So self-striping yarn was one of the first things that I stashed and I think knit with when I was a brand new knitter. And stashing and knitting are two separate hobbies in my opinion, and self-striping is one of my favorite to do both with. So I really think that to most folks that don't know knitting and brand new knitters, self-striping is just magical, right? Like, how does it do that? How does it change the colors and get those perfect symmetrical stripes? And there's just a lot of magic in those short little breaks of color and how they transition. And then we as knitters and designers have come up with some great designs that really show that off and really play with that color. And so I think if I had to really boil it down to why I absolutely love self-striping yarn, is that it's playing with color. It's really showing you the construction of the thing that you're knitting, how it's either on the bias or the direction of the knitting. Those change in colors definitely demark that, as well as it's just the color combos are baked in, right? Like you can go, oh, I like pink and orange and green together, or that's a bad example. I don't. I like green and pink together. I don't know why I threw orange in there. But buying them, you know that those are pleasing to your eye because you're seeing it already in the skein and it's already been combined together and the dyer has put that together. So a lot of self-striping yarns are on sock weight yarn because striped socks are super fun. So if you know me and you've followed me on Instagram at all, you know that I am a prolific skew knitter. In fact, I do Skews Day Tuesday generally when I'm in a place where my feet need to be warm, and I skipped it last week, I noticed, because I did not need to wear socks in Costa Rica. But the skew pattern is by Lana Holden. And it very playfully plays with those, it plays with those stripes. And so you can see it's knit on the bias, and then you unbias it. It's got an origami heel. And this was my 61st pair, and I've got the 62nd on the needles. So you can see again that the construction there of the asymmetrical toe. It's fun, pink and green, and a little bit of a different pink there. Another really great sock pattern that I have not knit up yet, but it is definitely on my must knit list, is Lots of Socks by Paper Daisy Creations, Lisa K. Ross. It does a really fun slip stitch motif where you the stripes end up changing kind of a checkerboard pattern as it goes, and that's on my must knit list with self-striping. That's combining self-striping with a solid, which is another really fun way to use self-striping. I also have the Partying It Up and Getting Down socks that I designed. That are used to play with, so this is how the stripes, and excuse the fuzzies, these are a much loved pair of socks, plays with what the stripes would normally do and creating a bias. This one is toe up, so this is the Partying It Up, and this one is cuff down. It's the the getting down and those chevrons and working on the bias. The stripes do different things than they normally would, which is again another really fun way to play with self-striping. But it is not just socks that you can do fun things with those self-striping yarns with. I'm wearing the sock arms by Kelly Behm Knits. She has one for little kids. She's got one for adults. She's in the sock weight, and then also in worsted self-striping, which you don't see as much of, but she combined with mustache yarns and was able to provide worsted self-striping. And I've seen a little bit of it. People knit hats or mittens with it, but it's not as prevalent as the sock weight, and I really like sock weight jumpers. And so again, just another really fun way to play with the stripes. You don't have an all over stripe. You've just got these sock arms. I would highly recommend the pattern. There's some really fun instructions and intuitive and like aha moment for me as far as how to make sure that these stitches, when you end up picking them up, great construction, great. She does great with photo tutorials, and it's obviously a very fun pattern. There's also shawls that are out there. The Hitchhiker, which I could not find mine, and I believe I knitted out of a variegated. But I've seen a lot of Hitchhikers by Martina Behm out of self-striping, and it kind of the construction plays with those stripes, as well as Typhoon by Geonitrix Designs, Josh Ryks. That one is on my must knit list. I've seen so many pretty ones of those. I'll insert pictures for most of these, but it's kind of a wedge shape, and then you get kind of a whoosh across with that self-striping yarn. And again, that's combining a self-striping with a solid. I would say in general, combining a self-striping with a solid makes those, if it's not a skinny circumference like a sock, it really stretches out those color changes. So for example, if this were knit in the body of the sweater, you wouldn't see the stripes as much. It would look more variegated because you wouldn't see the clear delineation of multiple rows of the same color, because it's a bigger circumference, and so those color changes would be spread throughout the body. Combining in and mixing in a solid with that really helps spread those stripes out, especially if you've got a larger circumference. In hats, you guys know I recently fell in love with the Langfield. And this is a DK weight yarn combined with a self-striping sock, which is again another way to really stretch those stripes. But you can see, again, why I love it is because you can really see the demarcation of the construction of the hat. Those color changes really mark those. In addition to the Langfield hat, I've also seen some really pretty sock head hats out of self-striping yarn. That's by Kelly McClure. And the Langfield is by Martina Behm, or Behm. And that brings those self-striping right to the top of the head, right? And striped hats are very fun. And the last one that I'm going to mention is a work in progress. It is a sneak peek of an upcoming design, the Cup of Kindness cowl. And I am combining a self-striping. This is Vesper Knitterly Things. The colorway is Imagine. These are my absolute favorite colors, and kind of something I'm trying to do in 2020 here is not hoard my yarns, to really use the ones that love and make my heart sing, because, you know, they might not always make my heart sing, although I think this one would always make my heart sing. So, you know, use them and love them, and wear them, and not have them just sit in my stash and not be used. So a very pretty green and purple and blue, some of my favorite jewel tones. This is on the bias, and you'll hear more about this later. But again, you see the construction, you see that bias, that slip stitch there is changing colors, which is very fun. And I've combined it with a solid to not only really mark those stripes, but then kind of do a mega meta stripe of striping, self-striping is another really fun item to do. So I will again provide pictures and links to go out and take a look at the projects that I've mentioned thus far, but I'd really love to hear from you what your favorite self-striping projects are, ones that maybe I've not heard about and I will absolutely fall in love with. So I hope you have a great Monday, and please comment with any of your favorite self-striping projects. Bye, Ufta.